Staying on the shutdown now, joining me now in studio is Pennsylvania Democratic Congresswoman Madeleine Dean. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining me.
Great to be with you.
Thanks for being here in person. So let's start off with the state of play. You see those lawmakers huddling there, but no signs of any progress as far as I can tell. What is the off-ramp here, Congresswoman? How long do you expect this to last?
I have no idea, so I don't want to pretend I do. I'm happy to see anytime there are conversations taking place across the aisle, including Republicans, Democrats, Independents, as you just saw. That says that there's a seriousness to this. We should not be in a government shutdown. We should never have gotten here. And Speaker Johnson should never have sent his caucus home, knowing that yesterday was the deadline, midnight yesterday. We were doomed to a shutdown because of failed leadership.
Well, let me ask you, because, of course, there's going to be plenty of finger pointing going around. Democrats are saying we want any funding bill to also expand subsidies for Obamacare, for the ACA, which are set to expire at the end of the year. What are you willing to compromise on? Is that a hard and fast for you, that you will not sign anything that includes an extension of ACA? Would you sign something, for example, that said, we agreed to start negotiating on X date?
Well, I'm not going to be the negotiator here on TV. I wish there were negotiations going on. I wish there were conversations. You saw the only time that the president actually sat down with leadership, Republican and Democrat, was Monday before this shutdown. And so absurd that that is the way that it happened. So the Republicans have been very irresponsible. Back home, my constituents are very upset. This is a healthcare crisis of Republican making. And let's be honest, this has been going on for years. This has been in the making for years. They have wanted to defund Obamacare for 15 years. And this is their backdoor shutdown, Republican shutdown way of doing it. It's complicated, but it's not. They want to hurt Americans' health care.
What do you say, though, to the argument that Republicans are making, which is that Democrats are basically using this as a pawn, holding the government hostage while you try to negotiate your priorities, instead of signing a clean funding bill and negotiating over these health care subsidies in some point before they expire, which is the end of the year?
It's much simpler than that. Republicans have the White House, the House, and the Senate. They're failing to govern. If these are their priorities, and we can see it is, they want to take health care away from millions of Americans, tens of thousands of my constituents in suburban Philadelphia, then they got to govern. They got to find the votes, build these policies. Notice how they don't want to talk about health care. They're acting as though this is procedural or something extraneous, as the speaker said. This is not extraneous. This is central to people's lives. This is health care. This is SNAP, for crying out loud. Nutritional benefits. This is WIC. Starting today in Pennsylvania, there's going to be limited funding to apply for WIC. That's women and infants nutrition. This is a cruel, very cynical set of things to do. I do want to point out something that you just asked the question about, which is the misinformation, the disinformation, the lies of the Republican Party, saying that Democrats just want to give health care to undocumented people, or as they call them, illegal aliens. I don't care for that word, alien, and I know it is in statute. But I brought a couple samples of where over and over again it says that if an individual is not a citizen or a national of the United States or an alien lawfully present in the United States, such individual shall not be eligible for coverage. They're lying.
Well, and you're right. That is one of the big points that we continue to hear from Republicans. I want to get your reaction to some of the cracks we've seen in the Democratic Party as it relates to standing firm with this strategy. Let's take a look at what John Fetterman had to say about why he voted in favor of the Republican funding bill. He says, I voted aye to extend ACA tax credits because I support them, but I won't vote for the chaos of shuttering our government. Here is Independent Angus King saying, by shutting the government, we're actually giving Donald Trump more power. Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada saying, we need a bipartisan solution to address this impending healthcare crisis, but we should not be swapping the pain of one group of Americans for another. Are your fellow Democrats wrong there, Congresswoman?
Well, I think about John Fetterman, for example. He and I are buddies. We actually ran against each other, got to know each other in a lieutenant governor's race in 2018 before I had the chance to run for Congress, and he did succeed in becoming lieutenant governor. I put a call into him yesterday. Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to speak to him, but I just wanted to tell him what I was feeling and seeing from across the Capitol, but also across my constituents and my district. What I believe is the government is already, before midnight of last night, we were already in a dramatic shutdown as a result of the chaotic policies of this administration. More than 200,000 federal workers before the shutdown lost their jobs, and we know what they want to do now. They actually want to fire more. We're already in a shutdown. Take a look at what they're doing to SAMHSA, what they're doing to the U.S. Department of Education, what they're doing to FBI, USAID. Shutdown, shutdown, shutdown.
What about this argument, though, by, for example, Senator Cortez Masto, who says we should not be swapping the pain of one group of Americans for another? The fact that this is going to impact people all across this country, including, it seems like, thousands of federal workers who could be laid off.
This is pain across the United States, absolutely. It's also pain across the globe in terms of our failed leadership. So I understand that argument. I honor how these folks voted. But I'll tell you what, I won't be complicit with what this administration is doing. What the Speaker of the House did, which was to send people home so that more people could from the roles of SNAP and from healthcare. I had the opportunity to speak to him last night about this very thing hours before the shutdown. And I asked him, I implored him, be honest with the American people. This is not a so-called clean CR. This is just another way of cutting the ACA. Some of the estimates you've seen from economists, it will be a 70% cut in healthcare across the board for Americans. These are working class Americans. We're telling the stories of folks who have, one woman was with us yesterday. She has 13-year-old twins who are profoundly autistic, and she talked about their beauty and their destiny and their dignity and what she will not be able to do with them for their future without Medicaid.
Well, let me ask you, the Washington Post op-ed argues that Democrats have walked into a shutdown trap. Let me read you a little bit of what this op-ed says. It says, progressives embrace the same disastrous mentality that led the House Freedom Caucus to believe it could come out ahead in previous government funding standoffs. They wrongly assumed their political leverage would withstand the ensuing fallout. Do Democrats risk having significant political fallout here, coming up short, not getting the ACA extensions and having to ultimately vote to refund the government?
Let me suggest to you that I've never been prouder of the Democratic caucus, and I've been proud of the Democratic caucus since I got here in 2019, which happened to be the longest government shutdown in history under Mr. Trump 1.0. We are so unified, and we're not standing at risk. We're standing on the side of the American people. We're standing on the side of their nutrition, their health care, their access to health care, and their access to health.
Well, that shutdown you referenced in 2019 was the longest in history, more than 30 days. How long are you willing to let the government stay shut down, Congresswoman? Longer than that?
I'm hoping it is nowhere near as long as that, and that was under the auspices of the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Are you prepared, though, to fight for days, weeks, months, even if necessary?
I know I'm prepared to fight. I know our caucus is prepared to fight, but I will not get ahead of the negotiations. I hope at some point the Speaker actually brings his folks back to town and says, we actually have to do right by the American people. And it's time for us to tell the truth. One of the things I implored the Speaker last night was to say, you have to be more honest with the American people. Our civic responsibility is to tell citizens the truth. So to lie to citizens and say that this is a clean CR, nonsense, he knows it.
Congresswoman Dean, thank you so much for being here in person.
Good to be with you.
Really appreciate your perspective.